I'm Maurice Washington. Uh, Everybody in this neighborhood calls me, and really the East Austin calls me Frosty. I'm the son of Betty and the late Billy Washington. We've lived in this house since I was 14. We moved here in 1969 when I was in the 8th grade. And I lived here for 8 years till I was 22 when I bought my own home. I've never lived far from Holy Cross. This is named Holy Cross Heights because Holy Cross Hospital was just a block away. And I've never lived very far. All the years that I lived in Austin, whether it was right here or in other homes, I've never lived far from Holy Cross. And on my daddy's side, he was like a third or fourth generation Austinite, and my mother moved here from Luling, but had been here since she was 3 years old. So Austin is just very much in our blood, and this neighborhood is a very special neighborhood. My mom's parents only lived a block, about 2 blocks from here. She was raised up here in Austin since she was 3 years old. She married my daddy. We lived for quite a while over on Leona Street. But when they got ready to build their own home, they had been living in my paternal grandmother's duplex apartments. When they got ready to build their own home, they needed a larger space because 4 of us living in a 2-bedroom apartment was not cutting it. And when they needed to build a new home, a much larger home, they built this one here in this neighborhood on property that had been owned by black people and sold to black people and developed by black people. So that's why this neighborhood is so special. My mom designed the house. She specifically designed it this way. If you'll notice that some of the other houses are split level, meaning that the property has been cut away so that the garage is under the house. She could not afford to have the property cut away like that so that the garage could be under the house and face the street. So she designed it so that the house goes long way the property instead of facing the front to the street. And she did that because it was easier for her to afford. This was more affordable. But we still have basically the same amount of space in the house that our neighbors have. But it was just built in a more affordable way. And she sat down and with her pen and paper and designed this house and then gave it to an architect. And then the architect took it to Mr. Carrington, and Mr. Carrington built this house for us from the ground up. That was in the days, today they have houses are built in about 4 months because it's all prefabricated. It took a year or two to build this house from the ground up. And it was an arduous process because my mom oversaw the whole process, so she spent a lot of time making sure that everything was going right. Yeah. To be very honest, I really think that my mom and dad chose this neighborhood because to be very honest, my daddy did not want to live way out. Most of the black people were moving to the other side of Airport Boulevard, out in what they call Grants Park and Cedar Valley, Springdale. But my daddy did not want to go way out because he never wanted to be far from the corner of 11th and Chicon, or 12th and Chicon, because that was his hangout, and he wanted to be near his buddies. And so he wanted to be where he could walk to 11th or 12th and Chicon. And so this was much closer. As you can tell, it's not too far from downtown. So that's why the primary reason I believe they bought over here, and then the fact that it had been owned, the property had been owned and developed by black people, I think was an added bonus. Even as a teenager, we knew we lived in a special neighborhood. East Austin erroneously, and I want to stress that erroneously, has this reputation of being the bad part of town. It has never been the bad part of town. But even though East Austin was not a bad place to live, this particular part of East Austin was even better than the other parts. There was no crime over here. I can count the times that anything considered a crime would have happened in this neighborhood. It was so peaceful in this neighborhood, so had such little crime and anything ugly going on, that we kids, we could stay up and out about to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and our parents didn't worry about us because they knew we were all right. Like I said before this interview started, this house and the Hearst home around the corner were the hubs of the neighborhood for the kids, and we hung out here. And our parents did not worry about us being here because they knew that as long as their kids, the parents knew that as long as their kids were at Betty and Billy's house, there was nothing bad going on. And as long as we were around to the Hearst home, my parents knew nothing bad was going to be going on at the Hearst. So we could sit around there on their porch and just laugh and talk and have a good time to the wee hours of the morning. And we did it often. So that it was just a special place, especially for kids to grow up. Beautiful place, beautiful place. I think probably they're gonna kill me from telling this one. Oh well, a bunch of us around graduation time drove around and just got nasty drunk. And I remember when we finally, in the wee hours, I'm not gonna say which one of us it was, finally we all made it home, but one of us was so drunk that he could not make it into the house, and he just slept on the on the grass that night. And he had an older brother who was a singer. So being a singer, he did not get in till like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And he happened to have lifted. He was the younger brother, but he was the bigger. But somehow or another, the smaller brother lifted the bigger brother into the house. And thank God he got home before Mom and Daddy realized that the younger brother was not in the house and was filthy drunk. But we all were. I just happened to have been able to make it to the house and get in. But we were full of the spirits, but it was not the Holy Spirit. So I first went to Ebenezer daycare up until the first grade. Then I went to Oak Springs Elementary School, which was down the hill from where she taught. And that was easier for her to get me to and for her to watch out for me. Then I came up the hill to Rosewood, where she actually did teach. And I was there from the 3rd grade to the 6th grade. And then for some reason I chose to go to Martin Junior High School when everyone else went to Keeling. Then integration came. We were forced to go to schools all away from the neighborhood. And I chose to go Lanier because, again, it was near where my mama taught at that time. My mama was teaching at Barrington Elementary School. And so since she was very, very close to Lanier, she took me to school. So I didn't go to school with anybody in the neighborhood ever, but we were still friends after school. Then we hung out, Yeah. In fact, it was Doug Hurst that, because I was a little bit on the shy side. And it was Doug who came up here and kind of drugged me out. Come on, Frosty, you got to come, and introduced me to the neighborhood. And then I became one of the fellas, Yeah. Most of our parents was somehow or another related to either the school system, Austin Independent School District, or to Houston-Tillotson College. One way or another, we were in education. Can't think of anybody except my step uncle down the street. I think he worked at the Parks and Recreation, Mr. Norris. He's been gone a long time. But everybody else just about was a teacher. Yeah. And for me, having a mom at the same school was both good and bad, because if she made one of the kids mad, then I had to catch the brunt of their anger because they couldn't fuss at her, so they, be nasty to me. But then it also was protection, because I can remember at least once or twice. Most of the time, my mom took the teacher's side. If I got in trouble, the teacher was always right. But there was once or twice when the teacher was really wrong. And that teacher regretted, because I let my mama know. And he regretted that, So I'll just tell you what happened. I had just begun to wear glasses. And my daddy wore black rim glasses, and I wore black rim glasses. He rushed out of the house that morning and forgot his glasses. And we were always rushing. By the time we got up to go to Rosewood, we would be rushing. So in the rush, I picked up his glasses and left mine. It was in the car, almost to school, that I realized that I had my daddy's glasses and not my own. So once I got into the building and I stepped just in the door jamb, I didn't step all the way into the classroom. I had only gotten to the door jamb. And I asked the teacher, could I take these glasses down the hall to my mom, because they're my daddy's and I'm afraid I'd break them. And he said, yes. And when you get down there, you tell how big a fool you are. Now, I'm just stepping in. The bell is literally ringing as I step in the door. So how could I have done anything bad, anything foolish? I hadn't had a chance. And the first thing I'm saying out of my mouth to him is, may I politely take these glasses down to my mom? And his response is, yes, and you tell her how big a fool you are. Now, I'm 12 years old, so 12-year-old kids think very literally. I'm thinking he really means for me to say that. So as soon as I get down to the room, I hand her the glasses and I tell her, I won't say his name because he might have relatives still living. But Mr. T told me to tell you, said I could bring these glasses down here to you and to tell you how big a fool I am. And she responded, you go back up there and you tell him how big a fool he is. You know, not saying that the other kids didn't have good mamas, but they knew that, but you couldn't hang out with every mom at every mom's house, you know. But they knew that if they came to Miss Betty's house, they were welcome. She was going to make you feel welcome. You didn't have to guess. And I was going to get in trouble if I didn't offer them something to drink or to eat. You know, did you offer your guests something to eat? Did you offer them something? You know, I had to get up and immediately and offer them something. And like I said, she allowed them. They would hang out here to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, with no problem. You know, at least on the weekends and during the summer. So she was everybody's mama. Yeah, but she was tough too. I remember one time some of us were way away from the neighborhood. We'd been off playing cards. And, 2 or 3 o'clock was kind of the limit. We'd gone past that. And the next thing I know, there's a knock on this door a long way from here. And when they opened the door, that was my mom. And she said, come on, boy. And then she looked at all the rest of them that was from there. And you two, come on, all of y'all going. And didn't nobody buck up. They all got in the car and we all came home, you know. So, yeah, she was special. Yeah. And since she's been sick, it's been amazing how the kids that grew up here in the neighborhood have helped us take care of her before my sister moved her to DC. I mean, they have been remarkable in helping to take care of Miss Washington. When I was growing up, it seemed like every part of Austin had its uniqueness. And that I don't even know how to explain that, but there was just something unique about every section of Austin. And now it does not have that sense of uniqueness. They're building all these homes that look like something that come out of the San Francisco area, you know, that don't seem to fit, don't even fit Texas, let alone East Austin. Does that make sense? And just doesn't, you know. And I think, and this is not about being against integration. We fought too long to have integration for me to be against it. But I still think that there should be enclaves where you know that this is the black neighborhood, or this is the Hispanic neighborhood. And I think that gives a city flavor. You know, when you go to New York, there is Little Italy and there is Chinatown. You go to San Francisco and there's Chinatown. You know, that gives flavor. Brooklyn, New York has Bensonhurst, where our Jewish brothers and sisters live. And that gives it a specific flavor. Boston has neighborhoods that are racially divided, but not because they don't want to live next door to any other people, but it just means that there's a certain flavor about this neighborhood. You know, we can still love and communicate and work with other folk, but it's just something about our neighborhood that gives this flavor. We don't have that kind of flavor anymore. We're just so spread out, and I think the fact that these were the nicer homes some of the nicer homes on the east side, and owned by black people, is significant. And some of these homes were designed by black people. The home next door, Dr. King's house, David Chapel Baptist Church, those homes were designed by John Chase, who was the first black person to graduate from the UT School of Architecture. And that's significant. That's significant. This was back in the days when very few black people could even step foot on UT's campus unless you were working there as the gardener or, one of the janitors. He actually had graduated from UT when it was hard to make the grade, not because you couldn't make the grade, but simply because they wouldn't give you the grade. Even if you made good grades, you couldn't get the grade you made simply because you were black. But he made the grade and passed and became the first black architect that graduated from that school. So these homes represent that house across the field there was one of his homes. And it was built, that house was actually designed by a black architect, but it was also built by a black contractor. And it's one of the few houses that this house is just wood and mortar and stone, but that house is a house that's built with steel and mortar and wood and stone. That's very rare, very rare. For me, church is everything. I grew up all of my life in the Wesley United Methodist Church at 1164 St. Bernard Street. The Kings across the street. Miss McAllister used to live directly across the street from us. The Loftons down the street, all of us belong to the same church. That was, for me, my extended family. You have to understand that I went to Lanier the very first year that we were forced to integrate. We'd had a level of integration in the schools in Austin, but we still had a predominantly black high school. The powers that be decided that there should not be a predominantly black high school in Austin, and that it had to be inherently inferior if it was an all-black school, which I thought was absolutely stupid. And if it is, then it's the school district's job to make it up to par with any other school rather than close it. Well, they closed it, and they forced us to go to schools hither, thither, and yon around the city. I ended up at Lanier. I can't say that I was personally mistreated at Lanier, but I never felt like I was part of the family. Like I hear other people when they talk about their high school experience, they have all these beautiful memories, they have all these laughs that they can draw from and laugh and sit around and talk about for years. I don't have those memories of high school. I did not feel like I was somebody at Lanier High School. I didn't feel really wanted at Lanier High School. I'm, again, not personally mistreated in any obvious way, but not purposely made to feel like I was a part of it. But when I stepped into Wesley Methodist Church on Sunday morning, I felt like a little black prince because they made me feel like I was somebody. Almost from the time I stepped in the door, I was told I was somebody. Somebody wanted to hug me. Somebody wanted to kiss me. Somebody was putting $1 in my hand. You know, if I sang a song, oh, you sang that song so well. You know, it was it was at Wesley where I was taught to use whatever gifts and talents that I had, and I was expected to use it and trained to use it. Have lifelong friendships that came from growing up in Wesley. And all of that is just aside from the most powerful thing about going to church is learning the gospel. So you put it all together, and church is everything to me. And then I have to say this, that because of my nature, I know not only was an active member at Wesley, but I visited every church. David Chapel right here. I was a frequent visitor there. St. James on the other part of the street of Martin Luther King going straight out. Mount Zion, Greater Mount Zion. I visited them all and enjoyed them all. Metropolitan, Grants Chapel. Visited them all, enjoyed them all. Participated in some kind of way in most of them. So, excuse me. So, after I moved away, they started a tradition of having a neighborhood picnic and block parties and stuff. That was not going on when I was actually living here. But my mother used to talk about the block parties and the picnics and stuff after I wanted to be remembered as a haven for a people who were not necessarily welcome in other parts of the city. But these people, our parents, worked hard. I think I'm going to get a little emotional. But our parents worked hard. I know not only did my mom work as a public school librarian, but she also worked as a librarian after school for the city library. She worked as a what they call it? Upward bound at Houston-Tillotson. My daddy worked during the day as a teacher, as a employee of the Governor's Equal Opportunity Office, some other jobs he'd had, but he would work that job, but then on the weekends be a bartender or a waiter for big parties, especially out to UT and what they used to call the 40-acre club. I don't know if they still have it or not, and other big parties and stuff. So my mom and daddy worked too hard. And so this home and the other homes in this neighborhood are a testimony of people who worked really hard to have something, and something really good. And they were able to establish this neighborhood when they could not live and live comfortably in other neighborhoods. But they had this neighborhood, and they could live here and live in homes just like anybody else in the city could live. It's a haven. And I hate that so many of my peers have sold their parents' homes after their parents passed away. You know, now some I can understand because they don't live here in the city anymore. But I think my sister and I are on the same page when I don't think we have any plans of selling this home, at least not in the near future. You know, this is a monument to my mom. This is a monument to my dad. And I'm pretty sure Mr. King, I'm pretty sure Maryland next door, I'm pretty sure they all feel the same way. This is our haven, and these are monuments to the hard work and the faith in God that our parents had.